All right, we are live. This is WMMA Fighters. I'm Kyle as always, and I have Lorren Dullum with me. How you doing, Lauren?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, especially at 8 in the morning your time on a Sunday.
Like I said, this is sleeping in for me, so it works. It works just fine.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's usually how it is for me, but I've been staying up a lot later than I should be lately. So yeah,
I know the feeling.
yeah. I don't like to waste the day.
Yeah, I mean, you only have so much time, and there's a lot to get done.
Exactly. So with that said, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of get us through where you are or how you got to where you are right now with MMA, and if you're doing other things, you have another job, or is this what you're doing full time, and just kind of walk us through what's gotten you to where you are right now.
Well, this is what I do full time. I train and I coach at a gym here in Seattle called
Mm-hmm.
10 Kicks. So I've been working there for about a little over a year, actually about a year and a half. We just opened up July of last year. So I've been training with that gym for a while. I've been working in the fitness industry for about 5 or 6 years. So I got into fighting after switching out of like powerlifting and bodybuilding and more a little more traditional sports, I guess, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up finding fighting after going through a pretty rough time a couple years ago. I started training in self-defense. And then I had a coach at the time who competed in MMA, so I went and saw a fight and just got hooked. So now I'm competing as an amateur. I compete in MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Um, been doing, I think, about 2 years since I very first started doing any kind of competition.
Okay.
Uh, so now we're still just trying to find me an MMA fight. My last fight was in June, and I've done a couple things since then. I had a little boxing match just for fun,
Yeah.
which is very interesting, very different. And then I just had a grappling match a week ago and a tournament before that. So now we're trying to get me back into MMA and get a matchup going there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, boxing is totally different.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, it was so weird.
I bet. No, what weight class do you fight in?
I fought anywhere between 135 and 145. I'm trying to cut down to fighting strictly at 135.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very loaded division all across MMA, I
Yeah.
think. So that would be a good spot to be in. Is
Oh,
that
definitely.
is that weight cut tough, or is that something you think you'll be able to consistently achieve?
Well, I've only fought at 135 once, and it
Hmm.
was it was a pretty rough one. I
Okay.
think I dropped about 20 pounds overall, and by the end, I felt it.
Oh,
Which
I
is why,
bet.
yeah, it was a bad weight cut. Which is why, we were like, okay, I need to get my walking weight down before we do.
Right.
So now I'm walking about 10 pounds over that. So for me, an 8 to 10 pound weight cut's not bad at all.
No, no, that seems I think about as in my opinion, that's probably about as extreme as it should be.
Yeah, agreed, agreed.
Yeah.
Anything over that, it starts to like it's not healthy. It's not sustainable.
Right, definitely. Well, that's good. That's a great mindset to have, and I love the featherweight division, but unfortunately, there's not a lot going on. It's very
Yeah.
limited.
Yeah, especially around here. I mean, there's so few women in the region doing MMA in general that trying to find anyone doing 140 or 145 it's been a little rough.
Oh, I
So,
bet. Yeah, yeah. It takes enough time as it is, and then you get a fight, and it doesn't always guarantee it's actually going to come to fruition. Could be injury or pulling out for whatever reason. So
yeah, definitely.
yeah, you definitely want to be in a division where you have at least more options for potential opponents.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do you like most about MMA? And were you a fan of the sport, whether it was growing up, or were you a fan prior to actually getting into it?
I didn't know anything about MMA before. I didn't have a clue. I was always really into fighting. Like I was always very interested in learning how to fight. But like my interest was like I love Batman. So I'm like, I want to be able to fight like Batman. Like that was my only connection to fighting when I was a kid.
That's
And
awesome.
you know, I'm sure we all have our inspirations, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, I didn't know anything about it. And then I didn't know anything about fighting in general until I actually started
Hmm.
training. Um, I mean, if I had, I don't know what I like best about there's because I mean it's MMA. There's so many different aspects to it.
Right.
I mean, I love the striking component. To me is that's my biggest challenge because it doesn't come very naturally to me. So I love the challenge there, and I love how much I have to push myself, and mentally it's a lot for me, and I really enjoy that. But then on the ground, the jujitsu and the grappling is very that comes a lot more naturally to me, and I feel very comfortable there. So
Okay.
that kind of just feels like playtime. so
Right.
so it kind of depends on where I'm at. But I mean, overall, I think it's just no fight is ever exactly the same, and you get done, and you're just like, oh my god, I just did that. I just got into a cage with someone who wants to beat the crap out of me, and I just fought them. Um,
Right.
and it's an amazing feeling. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing else in the world like it, I think.
No, definitely, and I love the fact that it's a one-on-one competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a, and especially with women's MMA, at least in the region around here, I can't speak for others, but there's a lot of camaraderie with it. There's a lot of, I think not every guy, of course, but there's a lot of men that get into it and they're like, I want to fight, I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy. And,
Right.
there's all that machismo but with women, a lot of it, we have a specific reason, like we want to go and fight. We have this driving force, and we have our specific reasons for being there. And so when we go and fight each other, there's this sort of mutual respect, like, hey, I know what you go through. I know what you put in to be here. And so, like, I'm friends with most of the people that I've fought.
Yeah.
We're on really good terms, and it's just this really incredible experience to get to share with another person, which is kind of weird after you kind of like
Right.
each other bloody.
Right. No, I
But
get I get what you're saying though, and as a fan, spectator, whatever, I think it's far superior than the men's product. I think that's just opinion.
yeah,
It has come so far so fast, but usually when things grow so quickly, they tend to um, there's a part where there's almost like a crash and then it bounces back up again. But
yeah,
that's not the case here because people are understanding and appreciating it more. And
yeah.
I think it's better to watch. The skill levels, the talent, the amount of fighters is incredible. So I
I,
definitely, yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying. And
yeah,
as much as I love the sport, I'm not a huge fan of the promotional aspect of it.
yeah. I'm really not either.
Yeah, which I call the Conor McGregor effect,
Yeah,
because that's what it's all about. I
yeah,
think that has ruined the UFC's lightweight division, which is one of the most historic divisions in the history of MMA,
yeah.
and I think it's been tarnished almost beyond repair. But
Absolutely.
you don't have those issues, in the women's divisions, which is great. The respect for each other is different.
Yeah.
It's Yeah, it's just different in a very positive way. And I really appreciate what Dana White did for the sport. I think he's only seeing dollar signs nowadays, but
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
It's
he did pull the
depressing.
sport out of the dark ages, but
Yeah,
I think the female competitors are keeping it out of the dark ages, if that makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah, I mean,
So
especially with like Rose Namajunas is absolutely one of my favorite fighters.
yeah.
Just from a not just from a technical standpoint, watching her fight, but I almost like listening to interviews with her, and like watching videos of her just like talking,
Right.
almost more than like watching her fight. I love watching her fight too, but just listening to her, is incredible. I mean, because I mean, you look at what happened after she beat Joanna and got the belt. And she's just like, hey, be a good person. The belt doesn't mean anything if you're not a good person. And I think that not just for women, but for the sport as a whole, like those are the kind of role models that we need. Those are the kind of people that we need to have in the spotlight. showing people that, like, hey, this is what the sport is about. It may not be like traditional martial arts, in the sense of, what fighting was, 50, 100 years ago, but it's still martial arts. There still should be a sense of respect and with sportsmanship and dignity and all these things that we're just kind of losing. Like the whole McGregor and Khabib thing was like Khabib is one of my favorite fighters. I think that he's incredible. His ground and pound, I think, is just a work of art. I love studying his fighting, but I watched that fight and it was like the most beautiful moment, and then just ruined. I don't even necessarily just blame him. I mean, obviously he's responsible for his own actions, but
Right.
I think when you're promoting a fight using video footage of an assault that sent fighters to the hospital, and you're using that to promote,
Yep.
you're creating this really, really toxic and dangerous culture around the sport, and it's really disheartening. So having fighters like Rose to kind of combat that, literally and figuratively, it is really amazing to see.
Definitely. And I 100% understand what you're saying, and I really appreciate that insight, and it's great to get insight from a fighter's perspective, because I'm on the outside, literally on the outside, looking in. So it's really cool to hear that stuff. But I think, even with Rose and Joanna, after their two fights, which were both pretty epic,
Yeah.
just an epic win for Rose, that knockout, TKO,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. And then that war they had for the rematch. And then at the end, Joanna's really rough around the edges, but, they genuinely hugged it out, and there was no ill will there,
That was beautiful. I
Yeah.
loved. That's how it should be. I mean,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, but I just think it's a far superior thing right now, especially in the sport, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. So definitely Rose. I mean, Rose is awesome, and a lot of fighters I talk to are big fans of Rose, not just as a fighter but as a person, because she's a deadly fighter.
Yeah, she is a terrifying, terrifying human being.
Yeah, like she is a deadly fighter, but has a huge heart. Now, who are some others that, now that you're into the sport, are there some that you have to watch? And you mentioned Khabib as well. Are there some that just really excite you?
Demetrius Johnson has been my favorite fighter since day one.
Oh yeah,
I mean, regardless of what happened in the last fight, I think that he's the best fighter in the world. Just as far as being all around and technical, and just, I think it was his fight with Wilson Hayes. I want to say last year. I don't remember which UFC event it was, but I mean, that's, to me, as close of a perfect fight as you can possibly ask for. So anytime I'm like working with some of my own fighters, he's the number one fighter that I'm like, go watch his fights, go study what he does, go look and see how he executes these things. And plus, he's local. So of course I have to, there's that hometown aspect.
right.
But so he's absolutely my favorite. I love Holly Holm is incredible. Andrea KGB Lee, I think, is one of my favorite strikers. Jacare I'm really excited to see him fight in a couple weeks. He's one of my favorites. Those are the first ones that come to mind, I would say.
Yeah, those are great, and like you said about DJ, it doesn't matter, about the last fight. I agree. I think he's probably the best. Him and I think him and TJ Dillashaw are probably the two best right now.
They're amazing.
Yeah, and all this stuff about, I said something to somebody a couple weeks ago, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They're a McGregor fan, and they're like, "Well, he's the first 2-division champ," and I said, "Well, TJ Dillashaw is going to be the first 3-division champ."
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I firmly believe that. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. But yeah, those are amazing fighters. But that says a lot about Cejudo too, to come out there and do what he did, because he hurt him. Like he hurt him early, and that was from that point on, it was pretty much over.
Yeah. Well, I remember a lot of people watching that fight and being like, "Oh, that was such a bad call. Like the judges messed it up," and No.
No, to me, MMA judging, because it's a lot different than, kickboxing,
Yeah.
boxing, whatever. Damage done, I think, is a huge part
Yeah.
of the scoring system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think a lot of people that were saying like, "Oh no, DJ won, DJ won." They're looking at. I mean, of course, I wish DJ won,
Right.
but yeah, they were looking at a lot of the numbers, like, "Oh, well, he threw more strikes than this," like, you know. But I mean, what did he? They didn't do anything. Like, he threw a lot more volume, but they just didn't really have any damage. And Cejudo was able to take him down and hold him down and be able to inflict some serious damage though, throughout the fight. And I mean, it was a great fight, and props to Cejudo. I mean, I think he's a very impressive fighter. Um, but yeah, I mean, it of course made me sad.
Right. No, I hear
It's,
you. Yeah, yeah, I mean, it just, like you say, you can throw 4 million punches or any strike or whatever, but it's all about the significance and the impact.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. If it's not doing anything, if it's not stopping that other fighter from executing their game plan, then it's it looks good on paper, but when you're
right.
sitting there watching it, it's a different story.
Now, I know October's almost over, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have do you have anything in the works to try and get on a card before the end of the year?
There's a card in mid-November that we've been trying to get me matched for. At this point, I'm not super optimistic that it'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple more opportunities toward the end of the year. There's a local card on December 22nd that I'd like to get on. There's also one in Portland. So there's a couple different options, nothing locked in. I have a grappling tournament in about 2 weeks, but that's about the only thing that we have actually kind of on the calendar for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great if you can get back in there.
Yeah, I miss it. I had most of my fights. I think the longest I went was about 3 months between fights, and so now I haven't had an MMA fight since June, and my last fight was a loss, and I'm really eager to like get back in there. And I mean, I think I'm an entirely different fighter than I was, even a few months ago. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to get back to it.
Yeah, definitely, and that's good. I think you should be. You should be excited about it because it's yeah, a loss is a loss, but I know this is lame, but you can't win them all,
Oh
but
yeah, of course.
you can learn from them. So
Yeah.
what is typical? So you get a fight. Do you go into like a camp mode and do you spend time watching any film on your opponent, or do you just really focus on your game?
A little, I mean, more of the latter than the former. It kind of depends on the fight. I'm sort of always in a pseudo fight camp.
Mm-hmm.
So once we actually get a fight locked in, then we just, boost the frequency and intensity of my training a little bit. But I'm always trying to stay at a point where I could take a fight on a couple weeks' notice if I needed to. And so once we get a fight locked in, then we'll dig up some video. We look at it, we study it. My coach is brilliant at watching video footage and kind of dissecting what their weaknesses are and putting together a game plan. So I'll usually go through and I'll usually watch the video footage a little bit just to kind of get a sense of, what to expect. So I'm not walking in blind. But at that point, I just do what my coach tells me to do. I just go, okay, what's our game plan? What do I need to execute? What do I need to practice? And then from that point on until the fight, it's pretty much I just work to focus on what I'm gonna do.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think I had a fighter a while ago mention that a lot of times you get an opponent scheduled,
Mm-hmm.
and by fight day it could be somebody else.
Yep. Yep.
So I think film is important, but I think that's one of those things that maybe coaches and trainers focus on more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so yeah, that's really cool, and I understand what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense about you're always kind of in a fight camp because really you could get a call at any time.
Yeah. I mean, I had this grappling match that I had a week ago was originally supposed to be a Muay Thai fight, and we got the call on I think about 2 weeks notice, and coach was like, "Hey, you want to fight in 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's do it." let's go for it. But then my opponent ended up pulling out, and so that didn't pan out. But then even the grappling match, it was about a week's notice. We got the call, and he's like, okay, well, you can't do Muay Thai, but do you want to grapple?
Right.
So I was like, cool, let's go, let's do it.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, experience is experience, and I think that competition experience is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no matter what it is. And so what do you think are your plans for 2019? I mean, do you want to is there a number of fights you want to hit, or what are some goals you're looking forward to?
I am hoping to at least get 2 or 3 fights throughout the year. I've been doing more jiu-jitsu lately, and so we have at least one grappling tournament that we're planning on doing in February.
Mm-hmm.
It's really going to come down to if I can find an opponent. I'd like to start looking at getting professional fights in the next year or two, so I think it'll depend. I mean, maybe by the end of this next year, depending on how the fights go. I don't know if that's being overly optimistic or not, but that's my personal goal.
Okay.
But it's going to entirely depend on, if we can find fights. We're getting to the point where we're having to kind of look outside the Seattle area or even the Washington State area to try and find fights. There's not a lot of, like I said, there's not a lot of competition around here. There's what competition there is great, but there's not a lot of it. So ideally, I'd like to fight a few times. I don't know. I'm kind of just going with the flow, seeing what comes up. If I ideally it would be MMA, but if I can get a Muay Thai fight, cool. If I can get grappling matches, cool. I probably don't want to do boxing again because I really love throwing knees.
Right. I hear you.
But we'll just see what comes our way.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I think, that's a good way to look at it, because it's like, hey, if I get 2 fights, great. If I get 5 fights, even better. It's nothing really to be upset about either way. But they'll start coming. Now, one thing I think is happening, especially in the States over here, is MMA has moved from the coast to more of the middle of the country. It's booming right now.
Yeah. We have there's a couple fighters around here that will go to Montana to compete.
Oh wow.
Fairly regularly. Or I was talking to a promoter maybe 6 months ago. We were looking at some fights in Wisconsin. So we'll see what comes up. But I'm to be honest, I'm not in a huge hurry. I used to feel like this really big sense of urgency, like I gotta find a fight. If I went a month, without getting something on the books, I was like losing my mind. And now I'm kind of, I'm just enjoying training so much that if we can find a fight, then awesome. And if not, I'm just having a really great time just training and improving. So it's not a huge rush.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. I definitely really love hearing that. So, I mean, are there other things you have going on? I mean, I know a big thing nowadays with social media is a lot of self-promotion.
Yeah.
Are you a big fan of that, or do you have anything in the works?
As far as being a fan, it kind of depends on how you're promoting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely trying to do more self-promotion. I'm trying to get more sponsorships lined up. I just launched a blog last week, trying to kind of giving more perspective of women's MMA and fighting in general. Things that help promote the sport and help, kind of give people insight and educate them on what MMA really is, because I think there's a lot of, especially again, like you mentioned with the McGregor effect, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is. That kind of stuff I think is great, and I love it. I really like doing it. I like being a part of it. I think that sometimes the self-promotion thing can start going too much in that wrong direction, and then I'm not such a fan there. But I'm definitely I'm trying to build it up. Fighting is everything I do. I'm up at 6 in the morning, and the first thing that I'm doing is focusing on getting work done on my computer for the blog, for coaching certifications, for social media, all these different things. And then I'm at the gym either doing my own training or coaching others until usually 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So pretty much everything between that point it's fighting.
Right.
I don't have anything else going on. I don't really want anything else going on. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely trying to get more going in that respect.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And your blogs have been really fantastic. I mean, the stuff you're sharing is pretty incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, and you're talking about. So, what are some of your thoughts about uh, women's MMA in general and the reception to it nowadays?
I mean, it can vary. It seems like it's kind of one end of the spectrum or the other. Either people are like, "Wow, this is amazing," and they love seeing women fight. They love seeing, these girls come out and just, be just as technical and just as brutal and hit just as hard, pound for pound for as the men. I think there's a lot of people that just love seeing it. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, there are people that are like, oh, they just like will completely be like, oh, this fighter's hotter than this fighter. Oh, they're women, they can't really fight, or oh,
Right.
you fight because you'll hurt your pretty face, or like I get dumb comments from people. It's so stupid, and so it's the reception can really be either or. And I one thing that's really important to me is getting more, again, just that education, kind of showing people what being a female MMA fighter is actually like. And I'm actually very fortunate that the gym that I train at, somehow we didn't plan this, but somehow we're actually predominantly female, especially as far as our competitive fight team goes.
That's great.
Which is really cool. Like we don't really know how it happened because, like I said, it wasn't intentional, but we are. And so being able to, when we go to local fights, a lot of times there'll be 3 or 4 of us on the card, and it's all women. And so we've kind of built this reputation as like, quote unquote, the girl gym, but in the sense that, like, if you go and see us at a card, we're going to have a lot of really tough women. We're going to have a lot of really strong women who are very technical and very resilient. And I like being able to be part of showing people like, hey, look, this is what women's MMA looks like. This is what women's fighting actually looks like. It's really cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's that's really cool. I mean, I kind of blown away about that. I think that's fantastic. So that's a really good.
Both.
What's that?
So you and me both. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
No, that is awesome. I like I said, I love it. I'm a huge fan of it.
I appreciate
All
that.
across the thing, and I definitely love what you all do. And it was a huge uphill battle, but it's really turning into something special. And these fighters nowadays that do this, I mean, they're changing everything, and it's a great thing. So, what advice would you give to, um, let's say like a young girl or whatever who says that she wants to pursue MMA professionally?
Do it.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's really all it is. It's whatever reservations, someone might have about going and doing it. Like, because we honestly run into this a lot at our gym with women who come in, and you can kind of tell the ones that, like, they want to fight, but they're a little tentative about it, they're a little nervous, they're not sure that they can do it. And I mean, the best advice I can say is that if you want to do it, then don't let anything stop you. I mean, there's going to be people that have a lot of things to say about it. It's going to be very intimidating. It's going to be, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really, really hard. But the all the things that kind of get in the way and could potentially deter, a young fighter from fighting professionally, being able to work past those is one of the most beautiful things of the sport. Every woman, especially, really every fighter, but every woman especially, I think, has to just fight so hard to be able to fight, if that makes sense. And so I would just say go for it. If you're willing to put in the work, and if it's something that really matters to you and it's a genuine interest to you, then it's absolutely worth everything that, every struggle along the way.
Right. No, that's huge. I love that. Definitely love that. It's one of those things that you have to keep going.
Yeah.
And it's not just the fight, the literal fight. There's going to be fights everywhere, that you
Oh,
have to take on.
Absolutely.
and that's just the way it is. But what an awesome gym and an awesome environment,
It's
So
I'm very fortunate.
yeah, I mean that's just a great thing. And it's kind of like, so I talk to a lot of I've been very fortunate with the amount of fighters I've been able to talk to, and they all mention how, most of the gym is got a bunch of guys in it, and I think at to some extent it is beneficial to train with people um, bigger than you
Oh,
in
sure.
some things,
Yeah.
but I think for the most part, I mean, you need to be able to have people similar to your size. That's why there's weight classes. you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I definitely uh, think it is beneficial, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things that if that's your only option, it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, it's there has to be a balance, and
Yeah.
the nice thing is, again, I'm very fortunate to have the team that I do. They're just really really incredible people and great fighters.
Hmm.
Um, but it's we have to be able to go and train with other people, and so there are times where our coach will of course come in and spar with us, or we do have some really great guys at our gym. Thankfully they're all I mean, they're just the guys that we have at our gym are absolutely incredible. There's none of that like macho like need to prove kind of things, or like, oh, a girl beat me or anything like that.
Right.
The nice thing is we do have a good amount of variety, but I mean, if you only train with one or the other, like at least with jujitsu, I mean, I roll so much better against men. Like I don't know what it is, but I mean I can submit upper belts with that who are in my same weight class when I'm grappling, but then I
Right.
roll a girl who's my own size, and like my last tournament I ended up like belly down with her sitting on my back facing my legs.
Wow.
I'm like, how did I get here? I just do stupid things. And it's so different. I mean, I do dumb things rolling against
Right.
women. Um, we just move differently. We see things differently. We do things differently. And sparring it feels whether it's grappling or MMA or striking or anything like that. Having that variety of training partners is definitely important, because otherwise you just turn into a one-dimensional fighter.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but
Mhm.
just wanted to ask, what are some things that or how do you define success, and do you feel you're achieving that?
Oh yeah, I mean, for my personal definition, I feel extremely successful.
Hmm.
For me, my definition of success is finding the thing that just lights up your world, like finding the thing that makes you so full of excitement and joy and passion, and finding a way to make that what you do with your life. And regardless of what it is, or even if you're making money at it, or whatever other benefits you see from it. But I mean, fighting is the greatest thing that I've ever experienced. It means more to me than anything else in the world, other than, like, of course, the people that come with it. Um, and I feel extremely fortunate to not only be able to participate in it as an athlete, but to be able to coach and to be able to be in that environment. I mean, even just, I mean, I even just get to go to the gym in the middle of the day when it's empty and clean, and just be in that atmosphere on a daily basis. And I mean, for me, I feel extremely blessed. I feel extremely successful to be in that position and to be able to do the thing that I love more than anything else in the world.
That's great. So yeah, I would say you're definitely successful.
I feel pretty successful.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
I think you're crushing it.
yeah, I mean, the great thing is that, I mean, I don't have a single day of my life where I'm like, man, I don't want to be doing this. Like, if nothing else in my life changed, if everything stayed exactly as it was right now, and I just repeated that day over and over and over and over for the rest of my life, I mean, I would be very happy. I would not feel like anything's missing from my life. And so in that respect, like I said, I feel extremely successful to be able to have that life and be in that situation.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, thanks again for having me.
Oh yeah, I've loved talking with you, and I definitely think that 2019 is going to be a huge year for you, and I hope you can get in before the end of 2018.
I hope so too.
Well,
Fingers.
yeah, the good thing is the end of the year. I mean, there's MMA all over the place. Usually
Yeah,
from October all the way through the end of the year, because they're just pumping out fights like crazy. So hopefully you can get on something.
yeah,
Um,
definitely keeping my fingers crossed.
yeah, well, it was awesome talking to you. I hope to do it again.
Awesome. Yeah, thank
And
you.
yeah, good luck, and we'll keep updated. I'll definitely keep sharing the blogs, and anything I can do to help, I'm more
Cool. I
than
appreciate
more than
it.
happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you again for your time, and have an awesome day.
Thanks. You too.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Okay, again, that was Lorren Dullum. She is a lot of fun to talk to. I haven't talked to her before, so she's just full of energy. Gets up at 6 a.m. on weekend days. Um, that's pretty crazy. And we have another one this afternoon, Chelsea Tucker. She has a fight coming up, so it'll be a lot of fun to talk with her and getting some lined up for next weekend. So we'll be back on in a couple hours. Everybody have a good afternoon, and we'll see you then.